Well, I
You're
guess
right.
to
Sorry.
segue into community TV a little bit, one of those nice skills would be you often don't have an audience on a community TV audience, so you are performing for nobody. So that's an ingrained, inbuilt skill that you're bringing
Yeah,
forward.
you are. You are. You're performing in front of this sort of dead bit of machinery, that's that you're pretending is a person
Yeah,
essentially, because and it's a very intimate relationship because you're looking down the barrel, talking directly to the person on the other end of the television set or the computer screen. And uh, that was one of the things I did when I was on Full Frontal. I deliberately started writing material where I was talking down the barrel. First of all, it was easy to remember because it's on auto cue.
yeah,
I have to remember it, but also it was the way to get noticed, because if you're doing sketch all the time, like I was, you're being observed being a character. Whereas as soon as you turn and look at
yeah,
the person at home in the eye, you're kind of their friend a bit. They kind of think they know you more. At least they know who you are, or they want to know what your name is, or whatever. So it was a very deliberate attempt to just to take one step closer to this sort of invisible audience that was at home. So that relationship with the camera is something that can only be developed, uh, in community television. I think that's the only way you can do it, unless you're going to a film school or whatever, and you kind of learn, you learn the same things in a more technical way. Yeah, I think that was my original point, was that because I couldn't get into the biz at all. I couldn't get into this television world, but as a writer, that's how I got in.
mm.
And I was never going to be a performer. I was always going to be a writer. So I thought it was too old to be a performer at that
Now
point.
that's interesting, given where you
Yeah.
are as one of
Yeah, it was complete accident. It was great that it happened, but it was um, you write things for other people and you give them to people to do, and there were a few things that were coming out saying, "Oh, we don't quite get this," or this didn't work," or whatever. And I said, "Well, what, okay, that's fine." So, well, why don't you do it? So they just gave me a second unit opportunity to go. When I say second unit, I mean just pretty much a really basic news crew. They said, "Oh, here's a camera and a mic and no lights, and we've got to change in the car." It's very community television. And so the main unit was massive. They had trucks and they had backup vans, and that was proper like you'd never see now on a TV show. Back in those days, they spent a lot of money making this particular sketch show. But there was this little rinky-dink, uh, you know, half-assed, no direction. Basically, it was just somebody who knew how to point the camera at you, and that's when I did all my pretend journalist, TV journalist things. So I'm doing a
yeah,
report. You just make it. You end up writing material that fits the rather Spartan world that you're presented with, and stuff that's half-assed and daggy actually lends itself to that environment. So that's what you tend to do. You kind of, I suppose you know yourself, you kind of lean into it a bit,
yeah,
and
yeah.
if
Because
you've got a half,
if you pretend it's too much more important and bigger than it is, the audience doesn't go along with you. Whereas if you can
yeah,
lean in a little bit, then they can see that you understand where you're coming from, and they're like, "Oh,
exactly. It's like it's no different to doing stand up where you admit, you basically tell the truth most of the time with a good laugh, because it's a laugh with recognition. So it's
yeah,
the relationship between a comedian and audience is lives or dies on not bullshitting them essentially.
yes,
Um,
yeah,
and you can have dramatic skills and tricks, and you might know. I don't. I actually have no talent at all. The only reason I'm doing comedy is by default, because I know there's nothing else I could do. If I could play the piano, I would be playing the piano. If I could dance, I'd be doing. I could sing, sure, but there are people who have comic ability or instinct and all those other things as well. And they're incredible to work with. But yeah, when you've got nothing like I have, then you've got maybe my resemblance to a person who sits behind a desk and reads the news is probably the only thing I've got going for me.
you got to lean into your most marketable skill.
Exactly. Yes,
Look
that's right.
professional, go for it.
I'm an old white guy. I'm playing that role. That's who I am.